What's up, everybody? This is our 3-point stance presented by Mountain Dew. I'm John Roser. I've got alongside with me Meghan Triplett. Meghan, what's up?
What's up, Roser?
It was a big day for you because topic number one was the premiere of Grind City Media's new show, Rise and Grind. How does it feel to be like an internet podcast superstar now?
I don't feel like a superstar, but I will say it feels good to get the first episode under our belts a little bit because it has been months and weeks of working on this, and I think now that you have the first one done, there's a lot of kinks that you want to fix, but it was also just fun. It was also just great to see Memphis, our city, and a lot of people watch and how much support we have. I know you watched, and it was great to get your feedback, but it was just an overall just fun experience. And to kind of come back on this Monday, coming off of the weekend where we kind of had more sports come back, and now we're gearing up to just getting back to what we used to get back to, was watching sports on the weekends and having something to watch. It's a great week to kind of kick everything off. So it feels good. It feels really, I'm not a superstar. I'm still just simple old Meghan who gets to talk for a living, and it's such a blessing.
You're relieved to get the first one out of the way. I will tell everybody that this is what I did this morning because everybody has smart TVs now.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the City Media channel on YouTube. Every television now, you have YouTube as an app. You just go to YouTube. You can type in Grind City Media, and boom, it pops up there right when the show is live. You could do that for Rise and Grind. You can do that for the Chris Vernon Show. You can do that for all our stuff. Watch all of our videos there on the Grind City Media YouTube channel. One thing I didn't tell you I was going to ask you, but I am going to ask you now. You did have Ja Morant on the show today. One takeaway from the interview with Ja Morant.
One takeaway from Ja Morant, I think the biggest thing is that I don't think it's a surprise. His daughter's almost 1 year old. He does not change the number 2 diapers. He said he won't change them. He only changes the number 1 diapers. He had a funny way of kind of mentioning it, but it was absolutely hilarious. And we're throwing Ja a birthday party on in the studio. You're invited. He's turning 21 in a couple. Everyone, the whole city's invited, so we're gonna have him a 21st birthday party. He's making another appearance. I begged him to do it. I think that was my biggest takeaway. Was that.
We had Josh Jackson on. He said the same thing with his 2 daughters. He only changes the number 1s. He does not change the number 2s. The men try to do as little as possible.
I know. You and I don't have kids. I have a niece and nephew. I change all the diapers. My dad changes all the diapers. I don't know what's up with this. I don't know what's going on. We need to put the pressure on these men, apparently.
No, I'm with them. I'm on their side. I'm on their side.
Why do we have to do the stinky stuff? I'm not even gonna go there. It's already tough being a woman, and we have a hard task of life in general. But I mean, goodness, you guys can help us out. You can help us out a little bit.
We're pretty useless. We are pretty useless.
You said it, and as long as you know it, that is why I love you.
100% I know it. All right, next story, also staying in the NBA. Good news out of the NBA. Every player in the bubble that is there right now that was tested, 0 positive tests for COVID-19. This is exactly what Adam Silver was hoping for.
Yeah, 346 players. I think it's one of those big sighs of relief. I mean, obviously, knock on wood, no one wanted anything bad to happen, but it was a very scary thing because we don't know what this is all like. We're living in a world right now with this pandemic where we're testing out things, we're trying new things out, but it looks as if Adam Silver and the NBA got it right. They have been super strict. I know it's been a lot of laughing and making fun of the rules. If you go past a certain line, you have to quarantine. Media coming in and having to quarantine for 7 days. And the snitch hotline, but it comes out where the biggest thing is health, and it's been working. And I think a lot of other sports teams, which I know we're gonna get to later, is gonna take note of what they've been doing and how they came up with this. And this has been weeks in the preparation, and now fans can say, okay, now I know why it took us this long to kind of figure things out. And it's really the biggest sigh of relief. I'm shocked. I have to admit, I didn't want anyone to come back, obviously, with a positive test result. But I think when you're living in a world where you're seeing all these numbers, it's hard to not just think of the worst scenario. And so now seeing it, you're like, oh my goodness, this is absolutely amazing. It's absolutely amazing for the game. It's great to see what we could potentially have this weekend with people being healthy. We did, a couple of people did go home last week, but when you look at this, this is just what, like our second, third weekend, and it's a great way to kind of get things going with these scrimmages.
Yeah, and we have scrimmages starting Wednesday. The Grizzlies also, they opened their scrimmage play, which you can watch live on Grizzlies.com, beginning on Friday afternoon against the Philadelphia 76ers. All three of the scrimmages you can see on Grizzlies.com. And then, of course, the regular season, the Grizzlies will tip off. They will resume the regular season next Friday against the Portland Trailblazers in the afternoon. Our last story will be, you mentioned more testing.
Wait, what's your stance? Like, this is not just an interview of me.
Your
stance of, like, when you saw the news.
I'll give you my stance. This is exactly what Adam Silver wanted.
Yeah.
This is exactly what he was hoping for. You've seen cases in Florida continuing to rise, and I think one of the worries was it's not so much the players being in there, because once the players are in that bubble and they've tested negative, the chances of them like getting it somehow from other players who are testing negative, like that's not really going to happen. The worry would be like the hotel employees, the janitorial staff that is allowed to go home at night. What happens when they come back into that bubble life, on that campus? What happens then? And so far, so good. Like I said, this is exactly what Adam Silver was hoping for. And this is, there are some people that just want to be the negative Nelly or whatever, negative Nancy's, whatever they want to, they just want to be negative and think that everything is going to be a disaster. But the truth is, like for those of us that really want basketball, we really want to see basketball again, like this is great news as we do get these scrimmages underway. And I'm so pumped for the Grizzlies. I've never been more excited for an exhibition basketball game in my life than I am on Friday when the Grizzlies play the Philadelphia 76ers.
You know what we did mention? Like, I can't even imagine what it's like being a player or a coach who's in the bubble. Because I mean, like, obviously, like the last couple of weeks, you've just been kind of sitting there wondering, like, okay, I know today's test results came back negative, but like when you see a full week and a full number where it's like 100%, came back negative, that has to feel good too. If you're a wife, if you have children, it just feels good and saying, okay, I'm healthy. I think what we're doing is on the right path. I didn't put myself in harm's way or, in any type of health danger. I didn't even think about that. Like they have to literally feel like, I can honestly just really focus on basketball. Every player, I said it, in this bubble, all we have is really basketball. And now it's really a sense of like, okay, if I keep doing what I'm doing, and if we keep this up, I can honestly just think about basketball, think about my family. Health is not as big of a worry when you're inside that bubble. And I mean, a couple of players have said in their media availabilities is saying like, I feel safer in the bubble than I do if I was like on the outside of this bubble. And I could see that too now. It's like they're safer. They're safer than us. I really do think so.
There's no doubt they are. They absolutely are, because there's only so many people that can be around them. It's not like fans can come up and touch them and take pictures with them and ask them for autographs, or it's not like there could be people in the lobby who want players to wear their suits or want them to be, hey, can I be your tailor and anything like that. Like they don't have to deal with any of that. It's just them and basketball, which is what they grew up doing. It was just them and a basketball. And so, no, they like you said, all the players and then all the wives, the families of the players who are back home, they do have to be, it is a sigh of relief that every test came back negative. It's like you finishing your first episode of Rise and Grind. You're just like, all right, our final story. So more testing. The NFL has finally released how they're going to do their testing, at least for now. When players report to training camp, players will get tested on the first day, and then they will go home. And then they will quarantine themselves for day 2 and day 3. Quarantine themselves at home, not be around anybody, not leave their homes. They're not supposed to. Not like you're going to have NFL security watching over them. Day 4, they come back to the facility, they have another test. If they test negative, then they are allowed to enter the facility. And then starting day 5, they will be tested every day for 14 days. Your thoughts on that?
I'm so happy that the NFL came out with something. And the fact that they went from what they had before, especially after we saw like the blitz of tweets from NFL players saying they want to play and they just wanted some clarity when it came to the health concern. I think that this is a good sign. I think now the NFL is figuring it out, and coming off of the NBA, this has to be done. I think it's great. I think too, when you hear it out loud like that, it sounds like an extreme amount of testing. But I think any player will say, I will take this amount of tests just to make sure that I'm healthy, if this could very well get us to seeing football again. Obviously, there's still a lot of other questions that need to be answered and to figure out how the season will look, shape out. Is there going to be a preseason or not a preseason? But for a first step, I think this is good. I think, the NFL got it wrong, so it's shocker, right? They got it so wrong. I don't know why it took them this long, but we got to give people a chance to correct themselves and come out with a solution. And I think that this was a good solution. And I think this will just start it. We're not finished and we're not done. I think this will just start what can happen for these first 2 weeks. We got a lot of other things to worry about for later.
Yeah, and I think credit here goes to Adam Silver because, Roger Goodell had all the time in the world to get out in front of this. He had all the time in the world to get out in front of all of this and develop a plan and had nothing. And I think what he did is he saw what Adam Silver did with the NBA and how they've done their testing and kind of decided, okay, we need to do something similar to that. We need to do something similar to this. Because the truth is, like I said, like day five, you come back, you get, and then you start getting tested every day for 14 days. Truth is, training camp really is 2 weeks. Like, that's really all training camp is 2 weeks. And then you start the preseason. And yeah, you're in camp throughout the preseason, but you're more so preparing for games rather than actually, practicing all the time and really working on all your stuff. So, no, I think credit goes to Adam Silver and the NBA because they developed a plan on their own. And I think Roger Goodell looked at them and said, okay, we need to do something similar to that. Rather than Roger Goodell in the NFL, which is the biggest sport in America by far, it is by far the biggest sport in the country, the NFL is, rather than showing some leadership and getting out in front of everything, he kind of took a back seat and saw what other people did and then decided what he was going to do.
Yeah, I think he got scared. I think especially with the Twitter blitz, I think it backed the NFL into a corner of saying, hey, now that we've put all the information out there for fans, and now that we're also saying that like this could very well be the reason why there won't be an NFL season, I think it made them kind of have to like work a little bit faster and figure out some things. And it's going to be on the players too, because the difference with the NFL and the NBA, which I think they're still trying to figure this out, the NBA is in a bubble where they can kind of keep this close tight. Because even when you get that negative test, now it's going to be a thing which like the next step is you got to make sure players go straight home or they just stay home, and you got to worry about food delivery process, grocery store. And that's all things that's above my pay grade. And I do not know how you figure it out. So this is just the start, and it's going to be, I think, a longer process and a longer amount of phone calls and discussions to be had. And hopefully Goodell maybe call Adam Silver and say, hey, can I get some advice? Because it looks like he might need some advice on what, he did right and what they can do. Because the NFL, as you mentioned, this is a bigger sport. It's totally different. It's more players on a roster. It's a lot of things you got to figure out when it comes to travel, where you're going to play. The NBA is in a different predicament. So it's going to be interesting to see how it kind of like, if it's all figured out when it comes to, are we going to see it? Are we going to have a season in the NFL? I still don't know. I don't think this is I still don't think we've kind of like guaranteed it happening.
No, we haven't, because they still have to work out preseason games. They've still got other stuff to work out. They've got to work out the in-season testing. How do you quarantine players? The NBA has all that figured out already. Mm-hmm. The NFL does not have that figured out yet. And like you said, it's above our pay grade. We are not Roger Goodell. We do not get paid $35, $40 million a year to make these decisions. And, if you wanted to pay me $35 to $40 million a year, I will gladly make these decisions.
I don't even think I want to make the decision. I don't even, like, you can keep the money. I'll just gladly stay right here in Memphis, Tennessee. and be on Rise and Grind Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Central. That is fine with me.
And I'll stick with the Chris Vernon Show, noon Central Time.
Hey, you gotta plug.
Yeah, we gotta get the plug in. Meghan, thank you for joining me so much. This has been our 3-Point Stance presented by Mountain Dew.